Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome. We're going to have a good time today, y'all. We're going to enjoy fellowship. We're going to enjoy communication. We're going to enjoy talking to one another and having just a wonderful time. I figure out how to turn this noise off for a second. I'm going to be right with you guys. There we go. Welcome to Coffee, Tea, You and Me. Coffee, Tea, You and Me is a show I've been doing now since the beginning of COVID. I've been having my weekly talk with entrepreneurs and business leaders, and bringing that to you live online every Friday from 3 to 5. If those of you are interested, please go ahead and like us, go ahead and subscribe to us, go ahead and share us with the people that are in your network. I'm hoping that you'll have a good time. I'm hoping that you'll enjoy yourself. I'm hoping, more importantly, that you'll learn and engage and discuss with me some of the most valuable topics that I think that small business leaders need to talk about and know about and learn about and understand with each other. Today is a very special day. We are taking a deep dive into our relationship model and our system that we use for the roundtable and all the other things that I've created and participate in and enjoy when I'm working with entrepreneurs, when I'm working with business leaders, clients of all types and walks. Need to understand this model in order to accomplish their dreams. And I'm going to start off today telling you about a wonderful story, and I hope you get the fact that the story is going to be, embedded with all kinds of, useful nuggets and tools and so on and so forth. So look forward to that. And I'm going to share some tips and some relatively new tips and some ancient tips that, we have come across as human beings. We've learned over the centuries and the importance of taking some of these ideas and concepts further. But I want you to hang on in there with me. I want you to ask any questions that you have about anything when it comes to networking or building professional relationships. I want you to feel comfortable putting your information in the chat. And don't forget to tell me where you found this from, how you know me, what's going on. I see my boy Donnell is out there in the audience. Donnell is just a phenomenal individual. He has a great business. Donnell, do me a favor and put your information in the chat. Put your business information in the chat so people can get in contact with you and find out more about what you're doing to help veterans and especially veteran entrepreneurs leverage their talent, their time. He's got a great pop-up program that's going on and many other things that he's doing to help veterans who are in business for themselves learn more how to introduce themselves to the marketplace and how to do a phenomenal job in doing that. And Donnell is the best at it. I'm so glad to call him a friend. I'm so glad to let him know and share him with you. And so Donnell, if you could put your information in the chat of how people can get in contact with you, the websites, anything you want to put in, I'll be sure to share that link. It's going to go across the board from Facebook to LinkedIn to even YouTube. And so that's what we broadcast. We broadcast live on all those different venues at the same time every Friday. As always, for those of you who are interested in finding out more about our live dates coming up, we've got a great conference that's coming up, a virtual conference is coming up on the 28th of April. It's going to be phenomenal. I can't say enough about the conference and the speakers and the people that we've got coming up. You may have saw a little bit about it, a background in the plot on the show. When we started out the show, this is our Leverage Up Conference. Every quarter, we do a Leverage Up Conference. And the whole goal of the Leverage Up Conference is to help entrepreneurs and business leaders begin to have discussions that they would never get into if it wasn't for this conference. And not only to get into those discussions, but to meet other business leaders who literally are geniuses at what they do. We're going to be talking about the political, the economic, the social, the technological, the legal, and the eco landscape. Everything that you have, all the macro stuff that you got to know and be aware of and be introduced to in a way that makes sense, so you can figure out how to negotiate those things with your business. COVID hit and threw everybody for a loop, and nobody was ready for it. The big businesses weren't ready for it. The small businesses certainly weren't ready for it. We lost a tremendous amount of small businesses in the wake of COVID, but we had learned some very, very valuable lessons about how to handle, the things when the ecosystem doesn't work right. We learned, how to handle things when the technology is not working right. We learned some legal things that we could take advantage of, and there's some political opportunities that showed up. I don't know how many of you who have employees have taken advantage of the ERC, but if you haven't already, oh my God, that's a phenomenal program. Over $20,000 per employee you can get back just because you survived COVID and you got that, you kept those employees with you. Now, I think you have to have a minimum of 5 employees, but these are tremendous tools, so many different tools that we're going to talk about and learn. We're going to talk about crypto. We're going to talk about infrastructure. We're going to talk about some of the new things that are coming out of the CHIPS Act and the money that almost $80 billion that's coming out of the CHIPS Act. We got to figure out how to get involved with that and how we're going to take advantage of some of those opportunities, especially within the Department of DOD and the defense organizations. And so there's so much opportunity out there for small businesses, but you got to learn not just what to talk about and what they mean, but who to talk to. And that's what we provide you with the Leverage Up Conference. We provide you with the opportunities to show up and be a part of something special. There's no reason to be shy. There's no reason to think that, this is not for me. If you are a small business leader, even if you want to be a small business leader, this is for you. This is built specifically for you. It's easily accessible. It's not free, but it's very, very, the price is very, very low, easy for you to get to. I put the link in the chat here for those of you who are interested. If you're following us on some other channel and you don't have that link and you can't see it, do me a favor. Hit me up in an instant message, call me from wherever there is, and my text message is coming across your screen. Everything that you need to know about me is right here, and so you don't have to worry about it. And I'll embed some of this information in the show notes so that those of you who are watching it later on can go by. I got to tell you, early bird tickets are flying off the shelf. If you don't get those early bird tickets, like right now, I'm not sure you'll be able to get them a little later on. And guess what? The price is going to triple. And it's going to be very difficult to get in. So, but just for $49, you can get in right now. And that's all I'm going to say about the Leverage Up Conference. I hope you can attend. I hope you think it's special. I hope hope it is as special to you as I meant it to be. And I know it will be, as a matter of fact, because it just gets better and better. This is the 3rd one we'll be doing in April, and we're committed to it. The more we do, the more our speakers and panelists start to hone their messages and get better and better and better at the things they talk about. And so you're just going to enjoy it. You're going to have a great time, and you're going to learn a lot about what to do. It's an all-day thing. We're going to be done by, I would think, 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get into the show. Today's show is super special. Today's show is super, super special. Can't say enough about it, because I'm breaking open for the first time in the public forum my relationship model that I created, and I use it for organizations that I belong to, organizations that I work with, organizations and associations that I create. And it's all about learning how to leverage your relationship. And for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about just the first 3 key aspects of the relationship model. We're going to get into it as deeply as I can. Today, it's just going to be a overview and a brief understanding of what it takes in order for you to get into the kinds of relationships, professional relationships, that you need to get into, that you can leverage the time, talent, treasure, and trust of others. And there's always a beginning process. You can't just walk into, some multi-billionaire and say, hey, I need your help. I want you to give me money to do blah, 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 blah. And everything is going to be copacetic. They're just going to love your idea. They're going to love you enough to just do what you ask them to do, or introduce you to the people that, you want to be introduced to. That is not likely to happen. It does happen every once in a while. We all hit lightning in a bottle. But where it does happen, we're going to describe a lot about where that lightning does happen. And then we're going to help you figure out how you can begin to generate that kind of energy and create that on your own lightning. All right. And we're going to go in. If you haven't seen us before, if you haven't talked to us before, if you haven't shared this information before, do me a favor. Like us, share us, make sure that you hit all the right buttons you're supposed to hit, so that you never miss the show moving forward, because we're going to have some action-packed stuff here to share with you. Let's move on to our illustration today. And we're going to, if those of you who caught that on the link, there it is. And I'm going to post it right here so you can see it as well. Today, we're going to be talking about our relationship model. And we're talking about how do you begin that process of growing and expanding your network. How do you begin the process of attracting the right people to you? And what do you need to do, and what do you need to be in order to make all those things happen? And so I will tell you right off the bat, if you understand what we're trying to get to, there are literally 9 steps in order for you to get to a maximum amount of trust within the people of your network, whoever they are, however you found them, wherever they came into your network, however you got to build a relationship with them. There are literally 9 steps. If you learn to master these 9 steps, I call them the 9 steps to mastery for a reason. If you learn to master these 9 steps, you can get to a maximum amount of trust with anybody that you decide to work with. But over the next few weeks, we're just going to talk about the first 3 steps. The first 3 steps are all about one thing. It's about transferring the knowledge that you need to transfer to one another in order to quickly build a maximum level of trust. You have to be able to do that with people that you work with. Everybody that you're going to collaborate with, everybody that you're going to cooperate with, everybody that you're going to enter into any professional relationship with, you need to learn enough about them to get rid of some of the baggage that we already have. We already have the baggage. Everybody carries a certain amount of baggage with them when it comes to building new professional relationships. And that baggage is fear, blame, shame, and guilt. We all have it. There's nobody that escapes from it. There's nobody that gets out of it. Everybody has their fair share of all 4 of these things: fear, blame, shame, and guilt. Now, my girl Renee Brown talks a lot about these things, so I'm not going to bore you about those and try to prove to you how we all have it. But I will tell you that human beings have been talking about and writing about and discussing what we need to do to deal with these 4 characteristics. I would say the negative characteristics of humanity that prevent us from working at our best selves and our best levels with each other. These things are they get in the way. The more you have fear, the more you have blame, the more you have shame, the more you have guilt, the less you're going to bring yourself into a positive relationship with others. And it doesn't matter what those relationships are, but especially a professional relationship. If you bring that kind of drama, that kind of baggage into a professional relationship, which we all do, by the way, so nobody gets out of it, even on both sides of that relationship, then that relationship is going to be fraught, and it's going to be fraught with anguish. It's going to be fraught with doubt. It's going to be fraught with fear. The things that just make it difficult for us to get along, to get to work with one another, to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish with one another. But I want to share with you some ancient wisdom today. about, first of all, what it means to get to know someone, right? And where does that knowledge, or where does that information, what does that translate into in terms of our lives and how we can benefit and grow from it. And I'm going to share with you a couple of lessons that I learned. And guess what? I pull these right from the Bible. I can't be shy about this, and I can't not tell you this, but I pull these lessons right from the Bible. Let me tell you why. There's a reason why it was written. There's a reason why the professionals, the prophets, the ancients who even wrote this information began to even think about these things. There's a reason. And see, the Bible clearly teaches that there are 5 invaluable lessons about why we should get to know one another, right? When we get to know one another really well, we have what it takes to be a source of renewal and reward for one another. That's thing 1. Thing 2, we get to teach the lessons of tenderness and compassion that we know and understand to one another. 3, we get to practice love and support with one another. Number 4, we stop judging and measuring one another. And last, and I think which is one of the most precious lessons that we've learned from just what was written in the Bible, many different passages and many different, is that we can begin the process of cooperation versus competition with one another. So let's unpack these. Yes, I've already told you, I'm going to share with you in our relationship model. If you're looking at it, then you're going to see the first 3 steps to get to know someone require you to do a couple of things. 1, you got to listen to them. 2, you got to be able to make a promise or use your promise or their promise to have something that you can connect each other to, and then follow up and follow through on the commitment, on the promises that you made. Those first 3 lessons, we're going to get deep into those. But let's talk about what it does for you for a second. When you get to know someone and they become, and you can too become together, a source of renewal and reward for one another. That's the stuff that magic is made of. That's the stuff that, when you have a friend, when you have an associate, when you have somebody who's got your back, somebody who's willing to go to the mat for you, somebody who's willing to, help you accomplish the things that you need to accomplish, as well as you're helping them accomplish the things that they need to accomplish. There's a mutuality in that. When you experience the time that you're going to spend with each other, even if you're working, it feels like a renewal. It feels like a reward. That's one of the reasons why you should get to know the people that you need to get to know in order to move yourself forward. The second reason you should get to know each other is because you have to be able to teach each other these lessons of tenderness and compassion. We've all had some tenderness and some compassion in our lives. And those stories that we get to tell one another, those things we need to do to help us understand even more and deeper how we could take those lessons and move them into our future. The more we share them with one another, the more we allow each other to share those same lessons with us. The more we allow people to begin to understand who and what they're all about, and where they came from, and how they began to learn how to care, how to love, how to be tender, how to be compassionate. But when we don't share these, the assumption is we don't have them. See, the assumption is we've had no love in our life. We've had no tenderness in our life. We've had nobody to look after us or nobody to care for us. And that simply ain't true. Because everybody's had it. You wouldn't have survived to this level. We need each other to survive. No matter where we are, we need each other. And we've only been able to survive because of each other. We've only been able to survive because somebody has helped us along the way. Especially when we were infants and toddlers and youngsters, somebody picked us up when we scraped our knee. Somebody helped us from running out in the street. Somebody helped us learn the law of gravity so that we wouldn't kill ourselves on our bicycles. Somebody did the things that, we needed to do to survive our youth right? They showed us tenderness and compassion and love, not because they had to, not because it was the law required them to. It was because they wanted to. It's because they gave us the gift of grace, right? We could do that to each other. We could do that for each other all day, every day. But we have to start learning how to tap into the stories of how we first learned it. Even if we learned it from people who were peddling fear. I mean, I've told you guys stories about how my grandmother my great-grandmother didn't really want me to play with certain kids in her neighborhood because she thought those were the bad kids and they would negatively influence me and I might get in trouble. So she wanted to separate me from them, not thinking that I might have enough light and enough joy and enough positive spirit in my life to rub off positively on them. She thought the negativity or the influence only went one way, them versus me, versus me versus them. Turns out that later on, as we grew up and started to find each other in later parts of our lives, there was a lot of lessons that I was able to share with them because I had experiences and opportunities that they didn't have. And that meant that they had something to look forward to. That meant that they had something to look up and find for themselves, even if it was jealousy, even if it was, some kind of spirit of competition or whatever that was. It helped them have something to hang on to when they weren't getting it, so they knew that it was possible. You see what I'm saying? When you share those those lessons of tenderness and compassion, you help open up others to the potential that we have for one another and what is supposed to be there for one another. It's really, really important that we do that. Number 3. When we can know each other well enough to practice love and support with one another, not just teach each other about it, but to actually practice, to show that this is what love and support looks like from me, and this is what I'm doing to show it to you, to be very articulate and verbal about that, and to share that in a way that people understand that this is what it is. When I'm saying I'm doing the things that I'm doing, I'm actually sharing love and support in my way, in the way that works best for me. And so how you receive that, that's up to you. But I will tell you, the more you bring back to the universe that the reception of love and support is received as love and support, even if it's love and support that's conditioned upon a person that's trying to deliver it to you, the more you receive that as love and support, then the more you'll be able to do things like take constructive criticism and turn it into feedback. The more you'll be able to have people that work with you who think they're speaking frankly and honestly, but to you it sounds offensive. You're able to turn that information into something that you could use to build a bridge that creates a connection versus something that is offensive and you got to run away from it or hide from it or be defensive about it, right? And so if you learn to practice that love and support, then you're going to be more patient with others. If you learn to practice that love and support, you're going to listen to others in a different way, even when they say things that are negative or things that are meant to hurt you. You won't receive it that way because your job and the only thing you're thinking about is how do I practice love and support within our communities, right? So super, super important that, when you want to get to know each other to a point where you feel great about practicing love and support with them. Because yes, you want to practice that love and support everywhere with anybody, but you do want to do it specifically within your networks, within the community of people that you are associated with on a regular, consistent basis, right? They can't see you. If your network sees you as a person who is always negative yourself, or they see you as a person who doesn't bring light and joy into conversation or anything that they're doing, then they're not going to want to work with you. You're not going to be fun to work with. But if you learn how to practice love and support and get to a point of knowledge and understanding with somebody that you're willing to do that, then that's going to make all the difference in the world to how they receive you. I hope you all understand that. And if there's any questions, by the way, put them in the chat. I'm going to take a break and check the chat just to make sure before I move on. So I got to move the screen around a little bit here. But it's super, super important that, as you begin to open up, as you begin to share, as you begin to understand who others are, where they're coming from, that you're able to do this. You're able to show this love and support because when you show that love and support, then they're able to show the same thing for you. By the way, everything I teach you has a reciprocity already embedded in it. So you have to think about, what you need to do to make that contribution that you have to make to others versus what you need to receive from just others. Most of us think about what I'm going to receive more than I think about what I'm going to contribute. And I promise you, if you think more about what you're going to contribute, then you will receive so much more in return. And your antenna for that reception will be so much broader and deeper. You'll be able to receive that information in a way that you can't imagine it. You can't imagine it until you learn to practice these habits, until you learn to do these things that I'm sharing with you today. All right, let's go into number 4. Number 4 of the 5 invaluable lessons or reasons why we should get to know each other is when we get to know each other, when we do this well, then we live in a world where there's no judgment and there's no measurement. There's nobody looking in your backyard saying what you got, trying to figure out how they can get it. There's nobody judging your behavior or your thought or your speech patterns or anything like that. They're not making, you're not showing up as a nuisance to them. You're showing up as a blessing. You're showing up as a person who is being well received, and it can be comfortable in an environment, right? In order for you to get there again, you've got to be able to practice it first. You've got to be able to put yourself in a situation where you don't judge others, where you don't measure up others, including measuring them against even yourself. This allows you to have the kind of conversations you're going to need to get into. All right, you're going to need to get into conversations with people who are absolutely smarter than you in certain specific areas, or absolutely have a different level of expertise in certain specific areas, who have a different perspective in certain specific areas. You're going to have to be comfortable getting into those conversations without judging, without feeling yourself like you're less than, or feeling yourself like there's something to be ashamed of, or something that you didn't do or should have done maybe in your earlier parts of your development, and now you got to try to put a band-aid over that in order to move forward. You shouldn't feel like that. You should feel like you belong. You should feel like you're the kind of person that can talk to anybody. And so again, that baggage, blame, shame, guilt, fear, all those things we have to deal with. You have to figure out how to pack those bags up and carry them with you in a way that doesn't stop you from moving forward. Because if those bags get too heavy, you're not going to be able to move forward. You're not going to be able to enter into new relationships where all this stuff that I'm sharing with you is possible. Love, tenderness, judgment-free zone, opportunity, support is all there when you can practice some of these lessons that we're talking about, when we can practice some of this information about getting to know someone. All right. And level 5, the last thing you need to do is to seek to cooperate and never compete. If you're the kind of person that only seeks to cooperate with others, not to compete with them, and you live in that world where there's only cooperation coming at you, not competition, then guess what? And there's nothing to be unsatisfied about. There's nothing to be unhappy about. Nobody's going to bring you anything, any trauma, any drama, because you've built a network of people around you that, if you go back to that illustration, is on one level is protective, right? Because there's so many different levels to get to you, with you in the middle of this big network of people that are in a circle. Those outer layers are there to protect you from people that you don't know, right? So that when you get down to people that you really, really know, now these are people that you can work with. These are people that you can understand. These people that they can understand and work with you. So let's talk about what you have to know about people. And this is why I created True Voice. For those of you who are interested in finding out more about True Voice, just hit me up and I'll give it to you. I'll share with you everything about it. But True Voice is an acronym. It stands for vision, obstacles, instinct, commitment, and environment. If you can talk to people about the things that the vision they're trying to get to, the opportunities that they see in front of themselves, or where they see themselves going, if you can help them tap into that vision of themselves, then they can see themselves as the people who need to accomplish the things they need to accomplish, and they need to do things differently, or maybe do more of what they're currently doing in order to move them, march them towards that vision. Very, very important. You got to help people find themselves in that vision. They have to find their voice, find their space, find their atmosphere, find wherever they're going, and be able to articulate. That's super, super important. And so if you can get them articulate their vision, that's a very good thing. If you can get them to articulate the obstacles that they already know that are keeping them from moving forward towards their vision, that's a beautiful thing. Because when people understand the obstacles, now you can plan your way around it, through it, over it, whatever you got to do to negotiate that obstacle. You can plan it if you can see that obstacle. It's the unseen obstacle that gets you in trouble. And so people can see their obstacles in front of them and articulate them again, then you might be able to help them work together towards achieving their vision, right? Instinctively, they already have ideas and some things that they should do that they're probably not doing. And there are the reasons why they're not doing those things. There's reasons why they're not doing it. Either they got too many things going on, they have too much time on their plate, there are too many people pulling at them, something is going on, they're overwhelmed, whatever it is, something's going on that's keeping them from instinctively doing the thing they know they have to do in order to even move against the obstacles. And then C is the commitment. Sometimes there's a commitment. There's commitments that they have to make. There's commitments to stop doing other things, commitments to do more of other things, commitments to learn more of other things. They have to be committed to some area of movement, of change, in order to negotiate the obstacles again, in order to move themselves toward division. If they know what the commitments are, they have to make it. And that could be a commitment, a simple commitment, right? But they know the kind of commitments they have to make in order to truly begin to negotiate the obstacles in front of them and get them moving forward and get them from being stuck in where they are right now. Then again, you can help them. They're usually going to need some resources. To be talking about time, talent, treasure, or trust. They're going to need, one of those 4 resources, right? They're going to need those things, maybe a combination of those things, to move themselves forward and be committed to something, to help them can be committed so they can use it as a tool to leverage themselves into other possibilities. The more people can tell you about those things, then the more they can develop, a collaborative relationship or begin a symbiosis or a trust, right? The last thing that people need to know about and understand and be able to articulate to you is some of the things that they have to watch out for, be careful for in their environment. We talked about the environmental concerns a little earlier. We talked about the political stuff, the economic stuff, the social stuff, the technological stuff, the legal stuff, the ecosystem stuff, the stuff that is outside of your control but still affects what you do. And you have to be careful. You have to be careful. I used to tell people all the time when I was a financial advisor, you need to have a year, maybe 2, of your expenses put aside for your business, just in case something happens, an emergency happens, and you need to be able to go tap that resource. And that's just your bank account or your money market account, easily accessible cash, right? You got to have that available to you. Well, then COVID hit. And I guess, people learn that, that reserves, that the lessons, the rule of thumb that they used to think about when they need, in terms of cash reserves, that's out the door now. You probably need to have 3 or 4 years, of cash reserves set aside. And if you don't have that, you need to have enough credit available to pay your expenses for 3 to 4 years in your business, because who knows when the next pandemic is going to hit, or the next war is going to happen, or the next glutton of what I call it, disputes are going to be happening. That's going to keep, silicon chips impossible to get to. Therefore, we can't put anything together. We can't manufacture anything. We have no power. We have no memory. We have no nothing that works. Everything works on semiconductors. We'll come back to that a little later on. Another thought, another day. But know that if anything can happen, there's so many things that can happen on the political, we call it PESO, right? Political, economic, social, technological, legal, and ecosystem front. Anything can happen that could take you out, could take your business out, could take your life. And so you have to be aware of what those possibilities are and make some contingency plans to negotiate those obstacles. If you haven't replaced your computers and it's been more than 2 or 3 years, you probably need to replace your computers. Right? If you don't know the laws that affect your industry and the things that are the subsidiary laws that can affect you, you might get in trouble. You might get hung up on some things that you weren't aware of. And guess what? Just because you didn't know the law doesn't forgive you when you break it, because the penalties are going to have to be paid anyway. So you want to make sure that you know the rules of the game that you play, whatever those rules are. And the more you can articulate these things. So that's why I created True Voice. True Voice is literally a system, an integrated system of questions, and that will help you uncover the voice of other people. When people have done the True Voice interview with me, and I've done thousands of them, there's not a single person who hasn't felt like, oh my God, I've never shared that much information with one person in that half an hour setting. I've never done it before. And oh my God, it's literally impossible to share that kind of information with someone and not feel a little bit more trust in them, because you've been vulnerable. You've actually told them the things that you might not even told yourself about what you want and what your feelings are about it and how you might approach it and what things might be in your way that maybe you've been ignoring or putting aside, but now it's coming face to face and you got to do something about it. True Voices is an amazing system. It's an amazing tool that I've used for years to help people uncover the best in themselves and the best of others. And so if you want to see the system, let me know. Again, a lot of that's going to be uncovered in the that conference is coming up on the 28th and 29th of April. And so if you get a chance to get your ticket, get it. The links are already in the chat. Do I have any questions? I want to make sure I got any questions before I go. I got any shout outs, anybody that wants to talk. If you have anything about your business that you want to share, feel free to share it right now. There are so many opportunities out there for people, and I want to make sure you don't get anybody doesn't miss it. This is, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, a business-friendly channel. And so if you have information out there about your business that you want to put in your chat, feel free to do so. I'm not going to put you back. This is a business-free zone, business-friendly zone. We want to make sure that you share your thoughts and your information about anything, any questions that you have, whether we answer them today on today's show or later on. Again, feel free to put them in the chat. Okay, so if you go back to the model that we were talking to you about earlier, you're going to see that the first 3 steps to getting to know someone requires you to do some things. 1, you got to listen. In order to listen, you got to be able to ask the right questions. The true voice questions are the right questions. I promise you that. If you learn how to listen to people and get them talking about the things that matter to them, then you're going to be able to do the second step, which is to make a promise, right? To make a promise to either help them with whatever they said that they were doing specifically that they wanted to do, or find somebody that you know within your network to help them, or go out and do something that's going to help them move the needle. But you get to make a promise. Now, once you make that promise, you got to follow up. You got to follow through. And there's a difference between follow up and follow through, and which we're going to get into in later discussions. But all of it, and you didn't know, the first 3 steps of the 9-step program is all about getting to know somebody that you want to add to your network. If you don't get to know the people that you add to your network, then you're going to poison your network with people who don't belong there. And when they don't belong there, understand, when people don't belong, they cannot help you create a system of rewards and renewal for another. They cannot help you teach compassion. They cannot help you practice love and support. They cannot, nor will they will always judge, and they will always measure, and they will always compete. They will never be able to cooperate well with you, with the other people in your network. So it's super, super, super important that you follow these 3 steps. Because if you don't follow those 3 steps and you bring somebody into your network, then you're going to get all the wrong energy moving forward. And if you do follow those 3 steps, and basically that's all you got to do. If you follow those 3 steps, the first 3 steps, and we'll get into those in detail over the next couple of weeks. But if you follow those first 3 steps, I promise you that you will know who to bring onto your network and who not to. You will know who is going to help you create this environment of positivity, of compassion and support, and who won't. You will know who wants to work with you to do that and who shouldn't. So these are things that are super, super important. And if you don't have a system, a strategy to make it happen for yourself, borrow this one. That's what I created it for. I created it so that the world could benefit from it. And I'm hoping that you will as well. This is Coach Powell. I had a wonderful time. I hope you did. And if there's no questions or anything here that I need to get to, I'm going to go ahead and call it a close to the show. We've been at this for about 40 minutes. I know I had a great time. I share a lot with you. I went over it in a good way, and I hope that you enjoyed what we had to share. Next week, we're going to get into the first step of the system. And that first step is really about listening up. It's about listening to the right people at the right time, in the right way, to begin the process of leveraging a relationship. So I hope you get that. I hope you love that. And we're going to have a great time. Okay, guys, thank you very much. It was a great show. Bye-bye.